In early February 2025, South African lobby groups AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement embarked on a controversial mission to the United States. Their objective to voice concerns over South Africa's land reform policies and alleged discrimination against the Afrikaner minority. This initiative, however, has ignited a firestorm of debate both within South Africa and on the international stage. AfriForum and Solidarity have long positioned themselves as advocates for Afrikaner rights, focusing on issues such as land ownership, cultural preservation, and what they perceive as racially motivated violence against white farmers. Central to their grievances is South Africa's Expropriation Act of 2024, a legislative measure designed to address historical land disparities by allowing the government to expropriate land for public use under specific conditions, sometimes without compensation. While the act aims to rectify the enduring imbalances from the apartheid era, AfriForum contends that it unfairly targets white landowners, likening it to Zimbabwe's contentious land reforms of the early 2000s. During their visit to Washington, D.C., representatives from AfriForum and Solidarity met with senior officials in President Donald Trump's administration. Their discussions centered on the alleged human rights violations against Afrikaners, the perceived threats posed by the Expropriation Act, and incidents of violence against white farmers. They implored the U.S. government to exert diplomatic pressure on South Africa to reconsider its land reform policies and to protect the rights of the Afrikaner community. In response, President Trump issued an executive order halting all U.S. aid to South Africa, citing concerns over the expropriation of land from white farmers without compensation. Furthermore, he extended an offer of political asylum to white South Africans, asserting that they face persecution in their homeland. This move was met with mixed reactions. While some viewed it as a gesture of solidarity, many within the white South African community, including AfriForum and Solidarity, declined the offer, expressing their commitment to remain in South Africa and address their challenges domestically. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa responded with strong condemnation of AfriForum and Solidarity's actions. Speaking at the Basic Education Lekgotla in Boksburg, Johannesburg, he emphasized the importance of resolving national issues internally and criticized the groups for seeking external intervention. Ramaphosa stated, "We must stop running to other countries. Our problems should be discussed and resolved here. That confirms our sovereignty and our standing as a free and independent nation. We may have differences, but we will find solutions." The actions of AfriForum and Solidarity have sparked intense debate within South Africa. Critics argue that by appealing to a foreign power, these groups have jeopardized the country's sovereignty and potentially strained diplomatic relations. There have been calls for legal action against the organizations, with some accusing them of treasonous behavior. In contrast, supporters of AfriForum and Solidarity assert that their actions were a legitimate attempt to draw international attention to pressing issues affecting the Afrikaner community. They argue that when domestic avenues fail to address their concerns adequately, seeking external support becomes a necessary recourse. The United States administration's response has introduced a new dimension to U.S.-South Africa relations. By offering asylum exclusively to white South Africans, President Trump has faced accusations of racial bias, especially given his administration's stringent policies toward refugees from other regions. This selective approach has been criticized for perpetuating a narrative that prioritizes certain groups over others based on race. Moreover, the executive order to suspend aid to South Africa has potential economic ramifications. Such a move could impact various sectors reliant on U.S. assistance, thereby affecting the broader South African populace. The situation has prompted discussions in the U.S. Congress about reviewing bilateral relations, with some lawmakers expressing concern over South Africa's domestic policies and their alignment with international human rights standards. The engagement between AfriForum, Solidarity, and the Trump administration has unveiled deep-seated tensions within South Africa regarding land ownership, racial dynamics, and national identity. it has also highlighted the complexities of international diplomacy, where domestic issues intersect with global politics. As South Africa navigates this challenging period, the emphasis on internal dialogue, unity, and a commitment to justice for all its citizens remains paramount.
I've heard that AfriForum and Solidarity have met representatives in the US government, and they're doing precisely what we said we as South Africans should not do. We should stop running to other countries. We should discuss our own problems here and find solutions. And that in many ways confirms our own sovereignty. It confirms our standing as a free and independent nation. A nation that can stand proud amongst many other nations and being able to say, we can solve our own problems. We may differ here, but we will find solutions to whatever problems we have. And we have the wherewithal to be able to do that. So I would say we stay here, we solve our problems here, and we embrace one another, and we build a nation. We will never be able to build a nation by just going to complain to other nations in the world. That's how we solve problems. We need to be sending a clear message to them that as far as we are concerned, as proud South Africans, we prefer that we should all stay here and solve our problems. And already what they are doing has spawned divisions in our nation. And that is not a nation-building process of running around the world to try and have your problems solved. You are just sowing divisions. Because now a number of South Africans then start looking at others negatively. And I don't think that that is the right way to handle our problems.
Law enforcement agencies will have to decide if they'll charge minority interest lobby groups AfriForum and Solidarity for their recent meeting with US President Donald Trump's administration. Now, that's according to Minister in the Presidency, Ntshavheni, who, when asked if their actions could be regarded as treasonous, the group is being accused of spreading misinformation about South Africa, alleging that white South Africans are being persecuted in the country. Ntshavheni herself did not use the term treason, but she said what AfriForum and Solidarity are doing is not in the best interest of South Africa. Now, following the signing of the Expropriation Act, the lobby groups intensified their campaign, which they say is to protect Afrikaners. Since then, Trump has offered to open the US borders to white refugees. Ntshavheni says those groups are welcome to take Trump up on his offer.
Our message is that it's always easy to find consensus at home, because home, that's where we all end up at. We either leave home, but we always go back home. So for the AfriForum and Solidarity, South Africa is your home. You want to destroy it, you should know that when all things are said and done, where are you going to go back to? But we must also be clear that the period of disinformation, misinformation, and peddling of lies is not going to last long. And we are happy, as I've indicated earlier, that South Africans of all races are coming out. The global community is coming out to say what you're saying about South Africa is not true. Because we've got a legacy of apartheid that we need to redress. There must be social justice. But we do that within the confines and the provisions of our constitution, which is held globally. So if AfriForum, like I've said, if AfriForum feels they cannot stay in South Africa, why can't they take up the offer to Mr. Trump? Why do you want to destroy this country? And we really appreciate not only the farming community, the Afrikaner community, and the white community in general, and all South Africans who have come out and say, not in our name, and not in the name of this country. So it's always better when you don't stand up to defend yourself, when the facts and the truth and others defend you. And we will go out and defend ourselves. We will go out, and I don't think it's to defend ourselves. We'll go and clarify the misinformation. Maybe it's good that they've gone again. By the time the envoys are signed by the president, there will be an opportunity to clarify everything in one go.